Time after time, Toynbee shows that civilizations begin to decay after they are unified and centralized under a single large-scale government. For a centralized government to grow to Leviathan proportions, Herbert believed that the masses must be transformed into what he called ciphers. Ciphers are individuals lacking in moral autonomy, deficient in critical thinking, and incapable of acting with courage. The cipher is too afraid or incompetent to think for himself, and so he submissively regurgitates slogans heard in the media and robotically obeys orders from the political class. These dehumanized non-entities are molded by years of indoctrination in state schools, decades of propaganda from media and popular culture, and constant exposure to numbing and dumbing distractions. The cipher is the man or woman whose spirit has been broken and who is the easy prey of the power-hungry amongst the political class. A nation of sheep will beget a government of wolves, or as Herbert explained, the great trick, the winning of power, requires ciphers and can't be played in any other fashion. Having once turned men into ciphers, you must appeal to them as good, loyal party followers. You can't appeal to them as men, possessed of conscience and will and responsibility. For in that case they might once more regain possession of their suppressed consciences and their higher faculties and begin to think and judge for themselves. The great struggle for power would die out, would come naturally to its end, when the suppression of self in the making of ciphers had ceased to be. Along with a population of ciphers, a centralized government of a Leviathan scale also requires hordes of minions, or state functionaries, who, as ciphers themselves, dutifully and obediently carry out the orders of the political class. And lastly, it requires a political class, or so-called elite, who, from behind the scenes or on high, exerts increasingly tighter clamps of control, and in the process, suffocates all free enterprise, voluntary exchange, spontaneous action, innovation, hope, and progress, until the whole system collapses in on itself due to its dead weight. The system is doomed as inexorably as the Tower of Babel, wrote Herbert, or as he explains the situation. Try to picture the huge, overweighted, groaning machine of government, the men who direct it vainly, miserably struggling with their impossible task of managing everything. Picture also the horde of countless officials who would form a bureaucratic, all-powerful army, always engaged in spying, restraining, and repressing, forever monotonously repeating, as if they governed a nursery, "Don't, you mustn't." And then picture imprisoned under the bureaucratic caste a nation of dispirited ciphers. Ciphers who would be as peevish, discontented, and quarrelsome as shut-up children, because shut off by an iron fence from all the stimulating influences of free life, and forbidden, as if it were a crime, to exercise their faculties according to their own interests and inclinations. Picture also the intense, the ludicrous pettiness that would run through the whole thing. For those who have not been transformed into state ciphers, Herbert's description of centralized governments may sound ominously similar to the governments across the world which, for decades, have been rapidly growing in size and power. And so, if centralized government is a parasite destined to destroy its host, then it seems as if more people should be questioning the validity of centralized government power, and considering whether a move back towards the foundations of freedom is the panacea needed to find our way out of the absurd contemporary socio-political mess. For as Herbert cautioned, time is a great logician, and succeeding generations will either press steadily on to the system that is the perfection of force, or to the perfection of liberty. On which side, then, do you take your stand?